Well, we Australians used to be famous for the seafood we ate.
Come and say g'day. I'll slip an extra shrimp on the barbie for you.
Come and say g'day.
Now we're more famous for the seafood that's eating us. Waverley Council in Sydney, which oversees world-famous Bondi Beach, wants the shark nets that have been protecting swimmers there for decades to not go in this summer. The Guardian reports, quote, Sydney's Bondi Beach could have its first summer without shark nets since the Second World War, as the New South Wales government weighs up whether to continue the controversial deterrence strategy. The nets are due to be in place at 51 beaches between Newcastle and Wollongong in less than 5 weeks. But the Minns government says it will not make a decision on whether the nets will be rolled out until it hears from 8 coastal councils. And you thought the job of local councils was to fix the potholes and collect the rubbish. At the same time as this debate is going on, footage like this is emerging.
Remarkable drone footage has filmed sharks getting right up close to swimmers while lurking under the water at Sydney's Bondi Beach. Check this out.
Pretty decent sized unit, aren't you, Norms? Oh, she's going to get a shock of her life as she looks down. Oh, under the wave. Oh, she almost touched him. What the? Oh, look out, mate. Can you see? Yeah. Yes, you did. It's like, wow, one of the grey nurses just right in front of me.
Oh, it's a great nurse.
It's a great nurse.
No
But what about the commentary on Old Mate? Oh, she's a big unit. I love that. Sharks weren't the only creature. Enjoying a splash in the ocean, the drone also showing a hungry seal going after a huge school of fish.
Wow, it is
Probably the
vision,
least
isn't it?
dangerous.
Look at that.
I don't know if I want to...
Well, was it a harmless grey nurse or a dangerous great white? It's hard to tell from that distance, but it doesn't matter anyway to the people who want to protect these creatures, most of who are like that Channel 9 presenter and don't go in the water anyway. If climate is the overarching theme of the crisis being manufactured by our overlords at the United Nations, then sharks are their god-like symbol. Environmentalists worship sharks more than, say, mosquitoes. And I don't say that flippantly. Mosquitoes kill people too, especially a particular species called Aedes aegypti, which spreads dengue and yellow fever, diseases that infect hundreds of millions of people a year, in some cases fatally. A biotechnology company in the United States has developed a way that might just eliminate the species altogether. It's called Speciescide, and the company embarked on achieving exactly that in Florida last year. Nobody's complaining about that because everyone knows the world would be a better place without this species of disease-carrying mosquitoes. But try saying that about great whites, which have killed dozens of people in Australia over the past few years. Sharks are routinely described, even in academic reports, as majestic, awesome, noble, amazing, beautiful, and even guardians of biodiversity. Australian author James Woodford called them, in his book Great White, a, quote, work of art. Our official policy towards these animals has likewise been drifting towards favouring them before us. The nets that have been installed every summer for decades at all popular beaches, every summer in Sydney, Newcastle and Wollongong, are not barriers. Rather, they act like a trap for any large fish that swims through them. The mesh is large enough not to entrap small fish. So they act as a protection device, but they don't completely enclose a beach. In the almost 100 years since they were first introduced, there have been only 2 fatal attacks at protected beaches in New South Wales. Likewise in Queensland, where nets have been in place at popular beaches since 1962, there have also been only 2 fatal attacks, despite there being dozens at unprotected ones. Yet it is the fatalities of fish that upsets the greenies. To these people, the death of an animal is more tragic than the death of a person, and those deaths have been steadily increasing for some years now. Here's a graph of attacks in Australia during the past 60 years. These are reported attacks and encounters. The blue is fatal attacks, the orange is injuries, and the grey is where the person involved luckily escaped unharmed. Now you'll notice that the past 2 decades have been increasingly dangerous. Some experts say this is because there are more people in the water, therefore more attacks. Well, perhaps or perhaps not. Have a look at the year when the current trend took off. It starts in 2000, when there were 3 fatal encounters, 9 that ended in injuries, and 7 with no injuries at all. You might ask if Australians started flocking in huge numbers to the beach at the turn of the millennium. Or did something else happen that led to an increasing number of encounters with large marine predators? Perhaps it was this. In 1999, great whites, having been protected close to shore by some state authorities for a handful of years, were finally granted protection federally in all Australian waters, which extend 360 kilometres around the whole continent. Well, you don't need to be a genius to work out that if you protect a dangerous animal, then the number of interactions with that animal, fatal or otherwise, are also going to increase. These are like the statistics in favour of keeping nets in the water. Shark lovers just don't want to acknowledge them. It doesn't matter how many people die as long as their precious man-eaters are protected. Nobody's bothered to explain why great whites should be protected while, for example, disease-carrying mosquitoes aren't. It's just assumed that everyone shares this awe-inspired religious reverence for powerful, dangerous sharks. Well, Bondi is our most famous beach. It attracts more tourists than Paul Hogan and his shrimp Barbie ever did. But those days could well and truly be over if the greenies on the Waverley Council and other coastal councils in Sydney get their way. And don't expect the opposition to rush to the defence of Bondi surfers and swimmers either. The Nationals and Liberals are just as beholden to the Green lobby. Not that they want to talk about it. I reached out to a range of people today to come on the show, from the Waverley Council to the state government, academics, and the Surfrider Foundation, which wants to protect the animals that would eat its members. I might get someone from the Surfrider Foundation on soon, but if any of the other representatives of the shark-hugging community would like to come on the show, send me an email. I won't bite.